New hair. I cut a lot. And it's relevant to what I will be talking about. You know, we all know that cutting or coloring your hair or doing drastic changes with your appearance actually is a symbol of change and letting go of the past. And I've had my long hair for like a few years or 3 years, and I was like, time to let go, bye bye. And that actually coincided, yes, with the full moon in Scorpio, which was very freaking heavy. If you don't believe in astrology, that's fine. You go. Anyway, so the topic of today's video is about like grieving my old self and realizing how being myself in my own country is very difficult, and I'm gonna talk about why. But first, let me tell you from the start. Before middle school, I was this very hyperactive clown type of girl. I hated school. I was very talkative. I was told off many times. I couldn't stay still. I always, sometimes I went to the toilet just because I needed a break and just to lose time and waste time. I hated school. Jeez. And I grew up in a town with less than 300 people, which as a child, fine. As an adult, nope. But I was around the mountains, nature, the hills, the woods, a pond that I really loved. So we were out and about, and my mom and dad didn't really worry because they knew where we were. Either up in the cemetery or the football field, in the woods. As long as we came back home, fine. That kind of childhood. So I'm really grateful for that. Yeah, I was this like very extroverted kid. I just loved messing around, joking around, but I basically was seen as too much in a way. So from middle school onwards, something shifted in me. I basically shrunk myself. I had to dim my light in a way. And during those years, like I was 10, 11, for most of my teenage years, I started like feeling depressed and like thinking about every day and also like that kind of stuff. So I shrunk myself. I became a people pleaser. I was always the weird one out, like the outcast. I didn't really have friends that I could open up with and talk about my feelings and what was going on. I was like the third wheel, where the two friends walk in front of you and you're the one behind, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And it didn't help that I was kind of alternative during those years. I didn't have access to many alternative clothing, but I was dressing up as you would call like emo. And we also had this term called dark. We didn't have goth. It was dark because you dressed up in black. But yeah, I used to listen to heavy music like the good old deathcore, metalcore. And people were making fun of me for that, clothing and music-wise. People would look at me and think, oh yeah, I could take advantage of her and make her do anything and she would come back anyway. And one thing I realized these days is I wasn't being heavily bullied at that time. I wasn't like beaten up or thrown in the toilets and just or I don't know, that kind of bullying. But people were making fun of me. They were making comments about me and laughing about it. So I was like, oh yeah, they're just joking around, right? They would also like do this motion and stuff like that. And I could see, now that I think about it, people would just look at me and think, yeah, she's a freak. And I'm not saying that, oh yeah, I'm the weird one and yeah, I'm the outcast. It really impacted me negatively. Middle school was shit, complete shit. So if you had a good middle school experience, I'm so glad you did. So I literally been gaslighting myself all these years, thinking, yeah, just because you weren't heavily bullied doesn't mean that it didn't impact you negatively up until now. And I realize now that kids shouldn't be making comments about others like that, because I've been carrying that burden until now and didn't realize how much I was influenced and impacted by those comments. So I had to learn how to blend in, how to behave like people, basically. I didn't really feel like I belonged anywhere, in any friend group that I had in those times. I didn't. And I still feel like I still have to find a place to belong to. And I have few friends here and overseas that really get me and understand me, so I'm grateful for that. Fashion wise, I always, after a while, I dressed up as I wanted to. Like, not as extremely alternative, but I do my own thing. And I used to do my own thing, so I'm really glad I kept that with me. But I had opportunities to go overseas, right? And every time I had to come back home, I had that dreadful feeling, that uncomfortable feeling that I just could pinpoint now, these days. Because overseas I could be myself. I still wasn't very authentic. I still felt like I had to dim my light, but I could be more open. I could be more me, basically. The thing is that once I felt comfortable and I felt like I could open myself up, I just become that instant extroverted kid, that clownish kid. And it shouldn't be like that, because I should be myself independently, you know? I shouldn't, like, I'm very hyper vigilant and I'm letting go of that. I've been very hyper vigilant on my surroundings and people, you know? Sometimes I hate it because on the bus or train, I can just sit in and relax, but sometimes I just feel like people are looking at me and judging me. So, but anyway, so basically I realized how I had to fit in and shrink myself and put myself in a box all these years. So it's been like 19 years of me trying to blend in just to be accepted and validated. And a few days ago, I had this good cry because of this realization that, wow, I had to shrink myself all these years because my inner child and my inner teenager felt threatened, felt fearful, felt the fear of abandonment, the fear of judgment, the fear of being too much, because all these years it felt like I had to oh my god. All these years I had to do that, to shrink myself in order to be accepted. Lately, honestly, this year I've been opening myself up. I've been, you know, letting go of the people pleasing tendencies and not holding back from saying what I think, saying no with confidence, just saying what's on my mind, basically. That's really helping me. I feel like I've been feeling this like huge surge of energy, this tightening in my stomach and also my throat, and I know that's correlated to the fact that there's a Julia that wants to come out, there's a Julia that wants to be herself unapologetically like she was as a kid, before the pressure of the world, before society told her who to be, how to behave and stuff like that. That's what's been going on basically. And that depression that I had a month ago or so was like a wake-up call. Every time something like that happens, I know there's something that wants to come out and wants to resurface and just to be let go, because the body stores trauma, stores stories from the past, patterns, and so on. So, you know, through discomfort we can grow. Through discomfort we realize what we need to change, and we can grow in good times as well. You know, another thing that I realized is that I've been so clingy to suffering and to pain that I made it my whole identity. I realized I'm letting go of that. Anyway, I think that's all I wanted to say for now. I'm gonna make other videos about different topics anyway, just saying what's on my mind and my opinions and so on, because I feel like by doing this we can build a community as well, and we can find like-minded people, which is extremely important. You know, I love being alone, but sometimes I feel the need to be around other people, even though my social battery runs out fast sometimes. I love my me time, but you know, as humans we need connection and community. But yeah, so I don't know if I'm an introvert or an extrovert, or how I like to call myself, an inkstrovert. Ay. Okay, I'm gonna stop because I ran out of things to say, so I think that's it. So if you've arrived until this point, thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And if this resonated, giving you a big hug. And please stay true to yourself, and never forget to love yourself a little bit more each day. And I know it's hard sometimes, but you got this. I'm gonna stop talking anyway. Thank you. Bye bye.